Konnichiwa, minasan, domo arigatou gozaimasu. Super Kami Guru Alucard desu. Hi. Yeah. So, today we're going to have a very sort of emotional episode. I'm going to finish the season and I'm going to release all the albums as planned. But after that, I think I'm going to retire because I went through some really painful stuff today, and I'll explain after our reading, but the summary of it is basically I'm tired of making songs for girls who don't appreciate it. I can't seem to find the right one. It's very painful. I mean, I literally made 20 songs for Shannon, like enough songs I could have made an album dedicated to her. She didn't appreciate it. The last girl I really liked, which I was all excited for the next episode, I was going to originally announce that she was my girlfriend. And, well, I'll get into that more after the reading, but it turned ugly. So to make a song for her, I'm just like, most of my songs come from people I like, inspiring me, and then they treat me like crap after, and I end up hating and regretting the song. So just don't want to do it anymore. But anyway, hey, Abs up in here. Thanks for tuning in. Appreciate it. So we'll get into our reading, and yeah, I guess that's true. But yeah, we'll finish the season and I'll still release all the albums I have planned. Still gonna probably work on my Yu-Gi-Oh thing, but if anything, I definitely need some time off. Like once I start releasing albums. I was also gonna explain people for anybody tuning in that the reason the album wasn't released on September 4th is because after paying Keith Murray to do an outro and spending a lot of the money on the Yu-Gi-Oh cards, I just didn't have enough to master all the songs. So, unfortunately, the SKGA Goes to Japan album has been pushed back to October 5th. That's why I released the new music video, The Departure, to hopefully keep everybody happy while we wait on this delay to release the next album. And of course, that album will be followed by a part two, since I do plan to go back to Japan next year. Although I can honestly say I'm not looking forward to it quite as much as I was, because I thought I was going to go there and be with my girlfriend, but now it doesn't seem like that. Anyways, we will do romance, which I could use some advice for, and I'd really like to get that out of the way first. Then we'll do career and general future. As usual, too, if anybody tuning in wants their fortune told, it's just ask what you would like your fortune told for, which is romance, career, or general future, and then put your gender and zodiac sign. That's enough. All right, so romance first. Oh, great Clow cards of Kuro Rido, using the power of the sun, the moon, and the stars, reveal to me a message regarding guidance with my romantic situation, which right now seems very bleak and hopeless. Release. The move, the mist, the mirror, the rain, and the silent. Well, from what I can gather from these cards, we have the move first, which indicates that there is movement, that things might be shuffling out of the way, which could be a good or bad thing depending on this situation. The mist indicates feeling confused, sort of in a hazy mist, but also things kind of withering away as a result of the mist as it's used in the show. Next, we have the mirror card, which indicates probably the energy I would pick up on this card today, being in this particular reading, is it's a time for self-reflection, which I could definitely see that being an important thing right now. And we have the rain card next, which, without sunshine and rain, the grass won't grow. So this is a time of rain as far as my romantic situation, which I could see that definitely being the case. And then we have the silent card, meaning things will appear to be silent and still, and there won't be too much verbal communication when it comes to romance at the moment, unfortunately. unfortunately, which is very accurate to my current situation. But hopefully, those cards are also signifying that in the future things might change. That this is just the now leading up to it. We'll probably get more clarity when we do the general future reading. So next we'll do career. Hopefully better news than the romance. Oh, great Clow cards of Kurorito, using the power of the sun and the stars and the moon, reveal to me a message regarding the future of my career. Release. So we have the return, the wave, the sweet, the heart, and the sleep. To get these cards for this reading in this particular order is very interesting because the return is indicating looking back on the past, which I have been doing that a lot lately with my music, like looking back on older music. Some I kind of regret, some I'm really proud of, and I think, damn, like that song should have been so much bigger. It was the bomb, right? And then the wave indicates a time of the current taking things a certain way, and it's best to go with the flow in that case, but it's very powerful. It's almost as though I'm being swept away in a whole new direction, which might actually be a good thing, especially because it's paired with the sweet card. So yeah, we had the wave, the return, and the sweet card so far. So the sweet is indicating that there's going to be sweet rewards regarding my career in the future, which is actually a very good thing. I'm happy to see that there is some positive news on the horizon. And then we have the heart card, which indicates, especially for it to pop up in the career, it really means like putting all my heart into my work, which is my music, and really dedicating myself towards it. But the fact that it's also paired with the sleep card indicates that maybe right now I'm not feeling it as strongly in my heart, which I can admit that's kind of true, especially with this latest development. Maybe my heart's just not quite as in it as it used to be anymore. And maybe that's a sign that it's time to rest, to get some sleep, and really let my artistry recover within myself. So, overall, that's actually a positive reading, but not too bad, not too shabby. And then next, we'll do general future. I feel you on that. Don't cast pearls before swine, as they say. I suppose that's true. I will explain more in detail what actually happened after the reading. It was, well, I'll put it this way. I'm actually still kind of battling an anxiety attack that I've had since earlier when it happened. But that's kind of why I'm doing this, because I need to vent. I need to get it off my chest. And by doing something work related, it kind of does make me feel a little better. Even if it's just providing entertainment for one person, such as yourself, Mr. Abs up in here, I'm content. At least I'm doing something good for somebody else, you know? Anyways, here is general future. Oh, great Clow cards of Kurorito, using the power of the sun, the moon, and the stars, reveal to me a message regarding the general future. And with the second 5 cards, give me clarity on where to go from here. Release. The lock, the watery, the sakura, the sword, and the cloud. Now with the second 5, we will flip them upside down, and we will wait to see what those cards will be after we clarify what the first 5 cards be. So first we have the lock card, which indicates, by the way, I'm not sure if I actually did show the sleep card fully in the last one, but that's it. And yeah, with the lock card though, which is the one we're on now, it's basically locking down my position where I want to be, really, fixating on a certain point and being committed to it. The watery card indicates that right now things in my future are kind of watery. They're very liquid. They have a lot of movement. They're not still. They're very unconcrete. But the watery could also represent, in this case, especially with everything going on, like um, basically after a time of sadness, after the tears fall, especially because we did get the rain card as well, that the water has to go back where it's meant to be, and it's all part of a natural process, which is a good thing. And then we have the Sakura card, which indicates being strong within myself, being the hero of my own story, and not letting especially because we have the watery card, letting upsetting events sink my boat moving towards the future. Then we have the sword card, which indicates now is the time to fight and really use the best of my abilities as a strength to carry me through things. The cloud indicates not only life being cloudy, but it could also mean that there's going to be very good elevation and rising above this after these events have taken place and settled, which is a good sign for the future. Next, we have the big card, the fiery card, the shadow card, the float, and the bubbles card, which is so interesting because we've technically got three water elemental cards in all these readings. We've got the rain, we've got the watery, and we got the bubbles. And the interesting thing is, we also got the fire. So we've got two of the four key elements because there's thunder, there's windy, fire, watery. Actually, thunder isn't one of the main elements. My mistake. It's earthy, windy, fiery, and watery. Those are the four key elements. So basically, to get the watery and the fiery card, it's almost like a yin and yang symbolism that there is actually a balance that needs to be. I might be burning red hot with passion, but sometimes I got to cool it down and really take a step back. So we have the little card, which I really feel like the energy of that card is telling me don't worry about the little things, don't stress the small things so much. We have the fiery card, which means I feel really passionate about certain things, like with the whole Yu-Gi-Oh! Duelist League, with all the new music I plan to release, and of course, with what I thought was going to be a really good romance that failed, unfortunately. There is a lot of fiery passion regarding these things. Next, we have the shadow card, meaning that although I might see things as they are, there's a whole nother layer to things that I'm not seeing, which of course is the shadow of everything going on. It's very interesting too because today I recorded a song called Welcome to the Shadow Realm. So to draw that card randomly is kind of funny. It's ironic. And then because that was the shadow card, as I showed you before, the fiery before that. And then next we have the float card. The float card means now is the time to be light, carefree, not worry about things, and just enjoy life, really, is the most part of the energy I'm picking up from the float. And the bubbles card indicates that good things will be bubbling to the surface. The water might appear dark and murky at the moment, which explains the watery card, but to have bubbles, they're clear, they float to the surface, it's a good sign. Good things are to come. So hopefully that was a good reading for everybody to enjoy. And now as far as like getting actually into the subject matter of today's episode and why I decided to do it early is because of the whole situation, take my mind off it, feel better by helping other people if any small way I can. And I appreciate you too, Abs, up in here. So basically, what happened with the whole situation? Oh yeah, no, I got that from the Yu-Gi-Oh because I've been watching that lately, and it's so funny. This Shadow Realm isn't actually a concept used in the original Japanese manga or the anime, but 4Kids Entertainment decided to create this made-up concept of a limbo of eternal suffering to basically substitute or censor any concept of death in the original show. Which, if you really think about it, Shadow Realm, a limbo of eternal suffering, actually sounds worse than hell. Because if you believe hell like the Muslims do, your soul would burn until it eventually perishes. Eventually, there would be an end of the suffering. Or if Christianity, they believe that hell will be vanquished when basically God has the resurrection and the rapture and Christ returns and all that. You look at a lot of other religions, hell has an ending point. It might be terrible, it might be seem like an eternity and be suffering, but a limbo of eternal suffering means that it's just never ending. It's just in a no place where it could be touched. It's actually a lot worse. Yeah, most people didn't realize that at the time. Everybody thinks that's a real thing, but it was literally something 4 Kids created. The Shadow Realm. Like with the buzzsaws when Yugi's dueling Arcana, oddly enough. In the original Japanese dubs, they were buzzsaws. The idea was it was going to chop off the losing character's legs. That was too dark for 4 Kids. Gotta make them disc that if it touches you, it sends your soul to the Shadow Realm. So it's like that's how they did it to avoid violence, right? Like it's very funny. Even with the episode where Kaiba and Yugi are tag team dueling Umbra and Loomis on the roof. Originally, if the bomb exploded and they lost, they would have fallen to their deaths. That was too dark what the Japanese anime did. So they switched it as the glass would collapse and they would basically fall into a portal that would take them to the Shadow Realm. So yeah, it was a lot darker in the original Yu-Gi-Oh series in Japan. In fact, there's the Forbidden Season 0, which they never even showed in North America. There was only the Japanese version of this because it was so dark. It's pretty much the backstory of when Yugi first completes his puzzle. And once he does, the Pharaoh actually like kills several people and like takes their souls and basically sends them to hell. Like you remember, I'm sure if you've seen the original show, you remember how it shows flashbacks of that bully who beat up Tristan and Joey and Yugi stepped in the way. In the season 0, it touches more upon what actually happened after that. Basically, Yugi had just managed to complete the puzzle after Joey gave him back the piece. So the Pharaoh took over, basically plays this weird card game, not even Duel Monsters, because it wasn't invented at that part in the show. That came later. Actually, the original manga had nothing to do with the card game until he used it as an idea. Everybody liked it and asked him to expand upon it. Originally, the show wasn't going to have anything to do with it. It was just going to be about the bond between Yugi and the Pharaoh, who was actually a crazy, evil sorcerer sort of serial killer in season 0. Like, basically, what happened with that bully who beat up Joey and Tristan, Yugi ended up basically beating him in that card game, pushing him off the roof, and then had these giant man-eater worms from hell devour the bully whole. It's so funny how in the 4 Kids animation version, they say, oh, thanks to you, we got that bully expelled. He wasn't expelled. He was eaten by giant man-eater worms from hell, man. Like, that's what's so funny. That was just too dark. So they had to like cut the backstory out. Oh yeah, man, it's wild. Like I'm glad that you're interested in it because another great story I got to tell you. I'm sure if you remember the episode where they talk about Taya's backstory when she first met Yugi, before they go to the restaurant, right? Like they go to the restaurant and then later like he writes her a note about going to the dance studio. The thing is, when they were in that restaurant, there was actually a hostage situation because the manager went crazy and held Taya at gunpoint. And then the Pharaoh basically played a game with him where when the Pharaoh was the manager guy was lighting up his cigarette, basically he asked the Pharaoh to light his cigarette. So he goes to light it and then lets the lighter fall from his hand. It lands on like the crazy manager with the gun's hand. He's holding a gun in that hand, meaning if he shoots the Pharaoh or moves his hand, that lighter is going to fall. And because he was also pouring really high content alcohol into a glass, right? The crazy thing about that is it spilled over. So if that lighter fell, it was going to burn him to a crisp. But then the Pharaoh angers like the crazy manager with the gun. So he ends up firing off a shot and then he gets burned to a crisp. So the Pharaoh actually brutally burned a guy to death to rescue Taya, who was blindfolded in a hostage situation at that restaurant. And there's also another character you never see in the Yu-Gi-Oh series that 4 Kids gave us called Miho. who appears in season 0 and was actually Tristan's girlfriend. Interesting fact there. So yeah, that's why I love it, and that's why that's been a big cool thing I've been working on, really creating like the Duelist League, because I want to bring it back to the classic era. I mean, I like what the 4Kids did with Yu-Gi-Oh, but when you actually find out the backstory of how the show, the manga, and the anime actually were in Japanese, it was much more darker. But yeah, definitely check it out. There's even the abridged series on YouTube. If you watch the 3rd episode of Yu-Gi-Oh! Abridged, where they parody a bit, you would still actually see pretty much what the Pharaoh does to burn that guy to a crisp, and it's pretty intense. They joke about it a bit. It's funnier, but it really was that dark, intense moment that really happened in Yu-Gi-Oh! Season 0. That's why it's often called the Forbidden Season. So yeah, that's basically, that's where a lot of my passions have been lying lately, creating this duel club, learning about all the Yu-Gi-Oh lore, especially since Kazuki Takahashi, the creator, may he rest in peace, actually drowned last year in Okinawa trying to save 2 people. And because of his heroic efforts, the 2 people actually did survive. Unfortunately, the current pulled him over and took him away, and he washed up on shore in a nearby Okinawa town on the beach a few days later. So he died a hero, which is kind of amazing when you think about how talented, and the man was a multimillionaire because all the money he was making from Yu-Gi-Oh! Yet he still had enough decency as a man to go save people. It's kind of amazing, right? So I'm doing this sort of dueling club in memory of him in a way too. May he rest in peace. So yeah, to basically explain the whole situation with Natsuki, I was basically going to actually tell everybody today that she was my girlfriend. That was the plan. She had actually requested for me to do that. But then today we got into this argument, which it was really stupid and silly. In fact, I'm really upset about it because I have really showed the patience of a Buddhist monk to deal with her in some cases, because I understand she's been through traumatic experiences and that warps her perception of things. She's very untrusting. She assumes the worst about a lot of things. And yeah, I was trying to be good, comfort her, and all these things. When we first met, she said she had no problem with having kids. We didn't need to use a condom, all this, right? And then today, she changes her tone. And I tried to explain to her like multiple things just so people could understand and really see my side of the story, where I was coming from. I will shed both sides of where she was coming from too, but mine, so you can kind of understand and humanize the full tale of how this all went down. So basically, she said like she would want me to wait until like I was fully there. But even before like I met her, I was planning that when I get like my grandpa's will from my estate, eventually I'd want to move there, get my own house, become a citizen. But I need to work there. Basically, you need a certain amount of money to live there, but it's not so bad. I had plans, right? And then the thing is, if you marry a Japanese woman, which she didn't want to admit, but I know for a fact that is a thing in Japan. There are Haruna, my ex and like best friend, even told me many foreigners go to Japan, they'll marry a Japanese woman, even if there's no romance or relationship really at all. Divorce a year later, and then because they married them, they get their Canadian or Japanese citizenship. Sorry. But so marrying to stay there is a thing. You can. So she's trying to say that's not how it works, but that is how it works because Haruna told me that. Haruna told me that, and I trust Haruna's judgment a lot more. No offense. So I was like, if I marry you, that's not really a problem. And even so, it's like I'm going to get grandpa's money. I can pay for it. I'll work towards becoming a citizen all on my own anyway. And she's like giving me all this. And she said I was selfish for not wanting to use condoms. Now, I said I didn't want to. I said it's hard to come with condoms. I don't really like them. But I didn't refuse to flat out use them. I just said I didn't like them because she's asking me if I mind. Well, yeah, I mind. I don't like them. I don't want to. I want to have a kid. So, no, I don't want to. It's not my first choice. Like it's saying, would you rather be shot or burnt to death? It's like, well, I'd rather be shot than burnt to death. It doesn't mean I want to be shot, but I'd rather be shot than burnt to death. You get what I'm saying? So that's the whole point. The lesser of two evils. Now, it's like if she really was insistent upon it, okay, fine. But I even tried, and this is after she blocked me, but I even tried to say, you're saying I'm selfish, but why can't you consider using birth control? I can't come in condoms. It's not really going to even be enjoyable to have sex with you at that point. It's like if it's such a big deal and you're so insistent on not having a baby, which I want a baby, I have all these plans about around how I would make it work, right? That's why I say, like, if it's such a big deal, why not use birth control then? I'm just saying I don't like them. I would prefer not to use them, and I have a reason for that. It's just not enjoyable to use them. It's really not. I'm not saying I'll say no completely. I'm saying you're asking if it's my preference. I'm sure you get what I'm saying, right, Abs up in here? Like, I'm not saying no. I'm saying it's my preference. If I didn't have to use them, I wouldn't want to. If you're forcing me to, fine. Okay. But at the same time, I think it's more selfish to not consider the alternative. Because if they took birth control, then I don't have to use them, and we don't have to worry about what's scaring the hell out of them, right? That makes sense. I'm sure you get what I'm saying, right? I'm saying like compromise in a case like that. You know what I'm saying? That's my point. That's how I'm looking at it as, it's not really selfish when I'm just saying my preference. I'm not saying no completely. I'm just saying you're asking if I want to use them, like if I mind using them. No, not. I don't really like using them. If I have to, okay. I'm not gonna really enjoy it as much. So wouldn't birth control be a better, substitute in that case? Plus, it's more effective than condoms anyway. The condom could break and then you get them pregnant anyway, right? Anyway, that's my thought. But yeah, then she blocked me, called me an asshole, said I was being selfish and all this terrible stuff, which is not new for her. She's done all this. She insults me all the time. I've never even once called her a bad name. I said she was being immature once. I insulted the ex-boyfriend that was a complete dickwad and fucking traumatized her to make her all fucking crazy and paranoid the way she is now. But didn't once insult her. But I'm an asshole. I'm a dickhead. All this shit, always insulting me, belittling me, and I have to sit there and put up with that, man. They restrict the blood flow and often break anyway. Exactly. See, Abs up in here sees my point. And I wasn't saying no. Just to clarify, I didn't say no. I refuse to use them or anything. They're asking my preference. Well, preferably, I wouldn't want to. That's all I was saying. Which, like I said, look at the example of would you rather be shot or burnt to death? Well, I don't want to be shot, but I would rather be shot than burnt to death. Less painful. I might survive the shot, right? Whereas if you're burnt to death, that means you're guaranteed to die and you're going to suffer a lot more. See what I'm saying? So, but like I said, I was not saying no. I was just simply saying my preference because that's what I was asked. So I gave my honest preference. What, I'm supposed to lie? Oh yeah, no, I love using them. Like it's like the Richard Jenny joke. It's like, oh yeah, no, like when a woman asks, "Do you mind using a condom? Do you want to use one?" It's like, oh yeah, no, I want to strangle the base of my dick with a tiny a tight plastic rubbery band that like squeezes my shit together inside it. Like, oh yeah, no, that sounds great. Like, no, nobody would want to use them if they had a choice. If they need to, well, then they need to. I'm not saying it's off the table entirely. I was just saying from a preference point of view. But I don't really consider it selfish when I'm being asked my preference and I'm giving an honest answer. You get what I'm saying? Right? That's all I was really trying to say. Like I wasn't even saying no. I just said as a preference, I wouldn't want to. which if we're really trying to be fair to each other, doesn't work that good for me when I use them. So wouldn't birth control be a better method of using it, and then I don't have to suffer? And then if the whole getting pregnant, I don't think you're going to be here and you got to deal with immigration and all this nonsense is such a big deal, well then you don't have to worry about that. Not that I am against having a children, because I want a kid. I'd love to have children. Especially because my dad wasn't there. I'd love to be a good dad and actually be there and spend time. To be honest, I can't lie to people. I actually wouldn't mind being a stay-at-home dad and spending time with the baby and all that, because my dad was never there, so it kind of be nice. It'd be like doing a 360 of my own experience, right? You dig? So yeah, but that's what I was saying. Like, considering how rude and terrible and cruel they were to me for just giving my preference, I think that's unfair. And I mean, she was already a Nazi about so many things. Like, I couldn't use Japan Cupid anymore, even to talk to friends. No, you can't use it because it's dating site. Well, okay, but I'm not trying to date any of the other people I'm talking to on there. I just made some nice friends. No, it's dating site. You can't use it. And she would like be so terrible to me about it. I just deactivated and gave it up. Like, it just wasn't worth the stress. And like, even Haruna and Takumi and all my other friends and my mentors know, I have really showed the patience of a saint to try to be kind and understanding and caring towards her. And she just doesn't appreciate it. Nothing is ever good enough for her. And she's still got to insult me and treat me like dirt and like be mean to me. When it's like, well, what was I supposed to do, really? Was I supposed to lie and say, oh, yeah, no problem. Yeah, I love condoms. Yeah, strap a fucking tight piece of latex rubber around my dick and suffocate it in a stranglehold while we make love and I probably won't come. Yeah, that sounds great. Like, really? Like, was I better off lying? Like, fuck. I don't know. I just think it was better to be honest, because I was getting asked my preference. But she's making it seem like I'm just flat out refusing to use them. No. If they insist, fine. It wasn't a problem. I wasn't saying no. I was just saying preference wise. Do I like using them? No. I don't think many men really like using them, which makes sense. And yeah, exactly, right? Like, you know what? Yeah, it crashed and burned. It sucked. I'm like depressed about it in a way, because I did really like her. Like, me and her had actually talked about marrying, having kids, and all this. And it's like I put so much time, energy, and effort into it, and it crashed and burned. So it's depressing. But exactly, though, at the end of the day, you're right, Abs up in here. In fact, I do feel a little better getting this off my chest and talking about her, because really, I was just being honest. At the same time, she clearly misunderstood me. Just for the record, she clearly misunderstood me, because not once did I say I refused to use them, that I wouldn't. No, I didn't once do that. I just said preference-wise. Do I want to? No. Is that so wrong? I don't know. Anyways, we're going to wrap it up, because that's pretty much all the latest developments. As for the album, the next one will drop October 5th. Hope everybody will stay tuned. I do feel better because of Abs up in here's great support. It actually has cheered me up. So, I'll keep doing my thing. And Super Kami Guru Alucard might need a little bit of a hiatus after I release all these albums and I work on things. But it won't be the last you see of me. And please stay tuned next week, where we will come back, probably regular time, Wednesday, 5 p.m., and do another episode. And, of course, please check the description for, info to donate to PayPal to help support the music, keep it flowing, right? Which that's part of why the album wasn't released this month, is because of lack of funding. So if people did donate, it would be helpful. Not going to push it on people, but it would be great, Artists deserve to get paid for the work, and it does make a big difference with the overall productivity and putting the quantity of our work out there. And of course, there's also the playlist to all the music that has been released thus far, including the new music video and single, The Departure, from SKGA goes to Japan, dropping October 5th. So till next time, domo arigato gozaimasu minasan. Oyasumi nasai, depending where you are in the world. Have a good afternoon if you're here in Canada. And that's all, folks. Take care. Super Kami Guru Alucard. Peace out till next time.